So the whole idea is I'm gonna build two doors, put in two sets of rails, upper and a lower, so that I can slide my doors forward and aft so I can get a good view of everything inside the heart of this rig. I don't know about you, but I'm paranoid about the water. I'm paranoid about leaks, and access is just atrocious. I've been running lately without the walls installed just because I like to keep an eye on my pump and my water heater and furnace and everything. So I thought I'd do a little video of it really quick, kind of show you what I'm putting together. I'm actually going to do a video of all the little upgrades we've done to the rig over the last year. Hope you enjoy it. Like and subscribe and leave us some comments. Okay, here's where I'm going to unload my basement on the passenger side, just to give you an idea how much stuff that I have in here and what you have to take out if you decide you want to do an inspection. And I like to inspect the interior of my rig at least every couple of weeks. I'd love to do it every day. And that was the whole point of installing these sliding doors, is so that I can just reach in there, slide that door back a little bit, and look at all my vital components. Most people, I doubt, even ever take those walls out and look back there and see if there's any problem until there is a problem. They start seeing water leaking out or a piece of equipment fails. Well, you know, equipment fails normally due to the vibrations of all of the wires chafing together, or just simply going down the road and the water lines are bouncing around in there, and, you know, they just become loose and they start leaking. For me, I went in and I zip tied everything loosely so that it had some kind of stability to it, and I tied off a lot of my electrical wires and ensured that they were crimped good, and that is something you really need to do. I'm standing here, I had to point out, I love this ladder, but that ladder is such a pain in the butt to store. I'm debating whether to actually put a mount on the back of my rig. Okay, I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I'm sure you guys don't want to see me unloading this entire rig. Boy, I bet you a bunch of us out there wish we could actually move this fast when we're working on something, especially when you start putting a few years on you, climbing in these little tight spots. So the first thing I gotta do is get all these temporary walls I got installed. I hope the lighting is good in here. I did these temporarily because I've been working on this idea for a little while, and I'm hoping it comes to fruition. If you go in and you pull all your walls out, you might be surprised at just how much room you have in there that you can add to it. And as you can see, I have my cable hookup and a plug here that I can hook up external TV, but I don't use it simply because we have a Peplink system, and it has not failed us. We've been from California to Florida, and it is yet to actually have any problems. I do have to change out my SIM cards though. Out west I use T-Mobile, and back east I use Verizon. Now I'm actually using Verizon right now in Colorado, and it seems to be working pretty good. But as you can see, I have a really good view of that mess in there, which I have worked on a little bit, and I do intend to clean it up better. But let me go and get all these panels out of here. Well, I've got everything out of here, got everything tidied up. I'm gonna leave this wall in, and it appears that I'll lose about 8 inches worth of space from here back, but I'm not, because this is just gonna be a little cubby hole here that I'll slide the door over and I'll be able to access it. But I'll also keep my plugs, and this is where my steps are located, so it's not a big deal. But as you can see, I got everything kind of tied up. It's still a mess. I need to get in there and clean it up. I think I'm going to take out those little wooden blocks right here. That's going to gain me, what, almost 2 inches, inch and a half. And that's the original mounts for the original walls. Things aren't built great. Just got hit in the butt by the door. These things aren't built that great, and they used, appears to be about 1/8 of an inch. Plywood. I don't even know if I'd call this plywood. It's press board. I'll show you the supplies I'm using, the channels that I'm going to use for my doors to slide in and out of, or back and forth I should say. I picked all this stuff up at Home Depot, and I do believe this whole project is costing somewhere around $80. And that is with the handles, the materials and the miscellaneous hardware that I'm going to be using. And I have noticed I may have to lose about an inch on height, but that's okay. I had plenty of room anyway. So that's kind of up to individuals. You know, if you think you need a little extra height, so be it. However, I would keep in mind, as you can see, I've had to do some work on my ducting there, because when I would pack this thing too tight, I'd actually hit that ducting and tear it. It is very flimsy. I originally went back with the silver duct tape, trying to fix it, but I found that that tape is not that durable. So I just went back with some black duct tape to hold everything up. So this is actually all the materials I'm using. 2 pieces of 1/4-inch plywood from Home Depot, a couple handles that's going to be used to pull, and this channel right here, I actually got this channel out of the garden supply area, and they're very deep, pretty solid. I think it's going to work out just fine. We'll see here at the end, won't we? And here's all the junk I keep inside of that basement, which is actually quite a bit. Okay, one of the first things I'm going to do is measure my length and cut my first channel. And I'm going to hug the wall to get as much width as I can in here. That comes out to about 93 inches. And just to double check, I'm also going to use my trusty marker and mark my channel. That way, if my eyes aren't working, the measuring tape is. Well, see if this is going to fit. And like a glove. So that's my first channel. The second channel runs right next to it, and I don't believe that'll take up any more than the block of wood I took out for the original wall mounts. We'll see. I'll get the other side cut and we'll find out. So, as you see now, I have my channels in. 2 slides. All I gotta do is screw them down to the floor, then work on the upper ones mounted to my actual frame of the rig itself. And I've only taken up maybe at most a 1/2 inch is all I've lost as far as space goes forward and aft. We'll see how that works out here real quick. Get a couple more measurements just to make sure that I'm the same distance from the forward wall to the base of the channel itself. Looks like I'm at 30 3/4. And 30 3/4 on the opposite side. I should have a straight channel. Now I'm actually using countersunk screws. I don't know if you can see that. The reason I'm using countersunk is the screws that go into the middle of the tracks. Of course, the door is going to have to slide over those, but I'm leaving the ones on the end slightly up. That way they'll be a stop for the door. So just keep that in mind. Don't want to use panhead. You want to use countersunk. See if we can't get this done. Like I said, leave these end ones slightly up just so there'll be a stop for the door. And this is just me laying it in. Once I get it laid in, I'll get the doors in, slide them back a little bit, and put the screws back in. Now I'll go through and I'll measure at 3 points or maybe 4, just so that I can get the channel straight. Again, I'm gonna measure from my forward wall out to the base. I'm looking at 31 inches. I'm gonna go up a little bit, measure out 31 inches. Now I'm taking into account that hopefully this rig is square, which we probably know it's not, but a little off is not gonna hurt. The doors have enough flex in them that if I'm slightly off, it's not gonna matter. Now these you want to put all the way in. You actually want to countersunk them into the material just a little bit, so that your boards or your walls actually are going to slide evenly and smoothly. Nice and tight. A little bit of movement, that's okay, because the walls have some flex. I'll finish the rest of them and then we're going to start working on test fitting. Now when you're doing your test fitting, I used my original walls I put in there just to see how much I'd have to cut off, because obviously with the channels going in, you're going to have to make adjustments for that. And for me, it was easier just to take those little 1/8 inch original walls and use those, because they flexed really well and everything. So it all worked out pretty good for me. Then when I finally got my template made, I cut my 1/4 inch plywood that I bought from Home Depot. Well, as you can see, it's a little bit of a tight spot to work in. Well, we'll see if we can test fit, see how this is going to work. Since this one's got to go, I put me a board up here. That way I can at least get the first one right, the first 2. And then I'll work my way down, and then I'll come back with the second channel. See how this is going to work out. But I do have to drill out my aluminum brace first with a bit. I think I have everything I need this time. Since I'm drilling through the channel, aluminum channel that the rig is framework, I'm going to drill through first. Okay, that's much better, much better. Okay, now we're to the point where I gotta put in some blocks, and I'm gonna reuse my excess like so, and that should give me fairly enough clearance. We will see. Okay, I got my test fit in. Now I'm just going to slide the wall down, and that should keep me pretty well square and vertical as I put my screws in. And as I work my way down, I'll just continue to slide it just like that right there, and hopefully everything's going to work out just fine. I'm going to crush my ductwork just a little bit, but it's pretty flexible, so I think I'll be okay. This here I'm going to use as a standoff, give it something to bite into right here. And that won't be too bad, crushing that ductwork. So you see here I'm putting the inside panel in, and it is fairly flexible considering that it's 1/4 inch plywood. And it took a little negotiation. If you look right up here at that ductwork, I did have to kind of block it off, and it squeezed a little bit, but I really didn't crush it that much. I still get good airflow. I checked it after I finished the job. So, you know, every rig is going to be a little bit different. You may not even have that duct work. The panel slid pretty good, a little bit stiff, but I think it'll get better over time. Now I'm going to install some handles on each side, and that'll just make it easy to slide back and forth, and I'll be able to check those interior components even with my basement loaded, you'll see at the end of the video. You see here, this is the finished product, what it looks like when the bay is completely empty. And on the other side, I'll show you here, I can slide that door over, and I have that space open where I have my plug-ins and for my cable hookups, and about 8 inches worth of storage back there that I actually be able to hide items that I don't use that often. Well, here's the finished product. I've got some miscellaneous items stored in that little cubby hole back there, and you'll see here in a second. I closed the door and I started loading up my basement again, and I can open that door fairly easy. Here's the opposite side, and I can even slide it back with all that stuff in there and get a good visual of all my internal components. Well, if you made it this far, I might as well show you a little bit of B footage and show you just how hard it is to get inside there, turn around, and everything, especially when you get to be a guy of my size and my age. I need to work on that belly a little bit. But it is a cramped space, and you do have to crawl around in there, and it's in and out. And I was working on a windy day, and my one door kept falling closed on me. So I had to get in there and have to spin around just to get back out or maneuver myself in there. It was quite the adventure.